Okay, yeah, you were asking me about the virtual fellowship, right?
Doesn't your Chinese virtual fellowship start soon?
In August it will begin.
In August,
So
okay.
when this episode drops, I'll probably be either grading or working on a lecture.
Have you
One or the
been
other.
contacting them in the meantime, or is it just like we'll chat when you start?
I'm still waiting for my roster. Still waiting
Your
for my
roster.
roster and my finalized schedule.
So you're going to be teaching the same class, but is there a problem once again, Chad?
No, I'm just double checking.
You're going to be
Keep talking.
you're going to be teaching one of my favorite phrases to hear, the keep talking, because then I'm like, oh god, I don't have anything to say. So you're still going to be teaching the same level of students.
No, I'll be
Okay.
teaching graduate students, and we'll be.
That's
going
even
over-
higher.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and these will be.
Does that make you nervous?
No, I'm excited.
Up
In theory,
do you feel like you have to bring another level to the game of excellence or knowledge?
yes, and so do they.
Wow, that's
Yeah. I mean, graduate
point.
students, they should know more. You should expect more of them, and they should be able to do more. So yeah, 100%, Jared. Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm really curious to see what level English these students will have, because in China it really can vary. I had some students that were juniors, so these would have been 2 or 3 years younger than the graduate students I'll be teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Who some of them had remarkable English skills, and others could barely, communicate an idea in a coherent.
But could they
manner.
write a paper?
Oh yeah, of course. A lot of my Chinese students were able to read and write very good. Very efficient.
Are they? Would they? Or did you have students that would resort to this translator? Could you tell if it was just copied and pasted into translator? I had friends that did that for German classes.
you can definitely tell without a doubt. I mean, it's just the wording is awkward. You can tell from like someone who's learning English and makes mistakes versus a translator's mistake.
Yeah, sure.
If that
sure,
makes
sure.
sense.
I had a friend that I mean, I guess he's still my friend. Although after I tell this story, I'm disowning him. In college, occasionally he would write up his entire German paper.
Oh, I know who this is.
In English, copy and paste it into Google Paste,
Yep,
and
I
take
know
it
who
to
this
our teaching assistant and ask her to proofread it.
Was it Anna?
Was it Anna?
Which teaching assistant was it? Do you remember?
It was the second one. Who was not the first one? I remember was I think Esther,
Okay.
but it was the one after that.
Okay. So that would have been. Yeah, I forget her name now.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
I don't remember who Anna is.
That's too funny. She was our senior year.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if I
senior year.
took a German. I don't know. I don't know if I interacted with the TA much.
Right.
Maybe I didn't take a German
Right.
class then because I was already done with German.
Right. I was still living in the international house, so I became friends with her. She was cool. Shout out to Anna if you're listening. Probably
I guess
not,
so.
but hey.
Since you've neglected to ruin us, I figured we should set ourselves straight with the theme song.
Oh, all right. All right. That's fair. I don't try to sabotage all of our podcasts, Jared. Just some of them. No, I'm just messing.
Probably for the best anyway.
That's right. That's right. Jared's done with his cold brew, I think. Are you done with it? Or is there still some left? A little more left. All right. That means Jared has a little bit more juice for us today, people. Yeah. So squeeze that juice, people. But if the juice is not worth the squeeze, don't bother squeezing it. That's all I got to say about that, Jared. Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here recording episode 219, and today we are going to talk about some funny or ridiculous excuses. And these could be excuses teachers have gotten from their students, perhaps some excuses Jared and I have maybe made in our lives, because look, nobody's perfect, and a key to making excuses, even true excuses that are ridiculous, is to own up to them. So we're going to talk about that today. Should be a really fun and exciting episode, and I'm really curious to hear what Jared's thoughts are on some of these excuses. You know, Jared doesn't take any slack, no BS from anybody, so I'm curious to hear what Jared's got to say. So without further ado, my good buddy Jared, what's going on, Jared?
Sup, dude? I think my style of excuses are like white lie excuses. What's a white lie excuse? Where it's like, this doesn't hurt anyone. I'm not covering anything up per se.
But does it not hurt anyone? I mean, it's always the question, right? But yeah, white lies, yeah, just a small minute. You know, oh, did you do the laundry? Oh yeah, of course, Mom. You know, yeah, you didn't do your laundry. You know, or did you finish your homework yesterday? Of course, Mom. You know, no.
Yeah,
like,
sure. But yeah, no, some of them get ridiculous, and I'm definitely also something I want to talk about is the fact that now I feel like we're starting to see like a pattern of excuses.
What do you mean?
Social media excuses.
Oh, interesting.
Mostly what I'm talking about. Or like, we talked about apologies recently. I feel like a lot of these apologies always come with the similar stipulations or excuses. But before we get into that, please.
Пожалуйста.
That's Russian for please. Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You could also please give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. You could also watch us on YouTube. We're back outside. The storm has passed. We're safe. Thank you for asking. Thank you for the cards that came to our P.O. box.
And the flowers.
Yes. Thank you. That was very nice. Chad really liked the lilies. How did you know? How did you know that was his favorite flower? That storm was crazy. I had coworkers that lost their power. I have not, and now knock on wood, I guess. I have not. I can't reach it. Oh well, there it goes. I'm about to lose power. I have not lost power in a long time, like years.
You'll have to text your partner after the podcast and make sure there's still power at your place.
Yeah. Oh, I just got a text.
Stay here. Yeah. We've lost power a few times, which.
How does that happen? What is happening? Why am I asking you this question?
I'm not sure yet. You've been coming to me with a lot of difficult questions. I appreciate it, but I definitely don't know the answer to.
I am the one with the facts, apparently.
Yes,
so.
I'm the one who tries to take a stab at things. Remember, that's why you're the fat guy. So the fact guy, not the fat guy. Jared is in fantabulous shape, people. But anyways, I think it's because of like something in the grounding of the electricity, and there's like not a connection or something. On the grid, I don't know. I'm just throwing out buzzwords.
That sounded good.
Yeah,
the grounding on the grid gets disconnected.
Disconnected, man. No power.
Well, I'm glad we actually survived. I did not forget about when we were sitting here and we saw a lightning strike and a thunderbolt. A lightning strike and thunderbolt. Is that what I meant to say?
Thunderbolt and a lightning. Well,
and
either way,
and we could hear it through our microphones.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And I'm like,
it crackled a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, this is it.
But it was worth the risk, I would say. Here we are.
Yeah, although I do think I might have a slight inner ear issue now. I'm not going to lie.
Well, that's just because I've been talking too loud in the mic. And just talking too much in general. That's the thing, Jared. I think it's really important to learn how to listen better. I've been trying to learn more about how to listen to people because I'm an extrovert, so I talk a lot. And I think sometimes I talk too much.
Think so? I definitely feel like I talk too much too, and I could be a better listener. Although I that's not how I am at like work and stuff. Like I'm pretty good at not talking at work. Not pretty good, but it's just easier for me to be like, I don't need to contribute at work for some reason.
Right. That's fair. Well, should we give some shout-outs?
Yeah, dude. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. My first shout-out today goes out to the Czech Republic. I don't know if you've heard about this. But Czech Republic, or Czechia, as they're officially called, they are.
Is that how they say it there?
Česko.
Okay, so it's officially called Czechia, but that's not. Oh, sorry, I stepped on you. Chad's dog.
My dog. Yeah.
But that's not what.
She's chilling.
You can actually see. There she is.
Can you see her? Oh yeah.
There's her head.
This is Prudy. She's our. She's gone now. She's our official podcast.
So it's called Czechia, but that's not what the Czech people call it.
Right. Well, I hear Czech Republic. I hear Czechia.
Czech people call it Czech Republic?
Okay. In English, yeah.
Oh, in English.
In English,
sure.
Yeah. But anyways, my whole point for giving them a shout out is they are actually allowing partners and spouses who have been separated for months because of this pandemic to return back to the Czech Republic. Obviously, there are some stipulations. I'm sure there's probably at least a 2-week quarantine. You probably have to take a coronavirus test.
My hand slipped.
You're good. But I think that's really great. I think a lot of countries still are not letting people have been separated for months and months and months.
Yeah,
and they haven't been able to kind of repatriate.
They're testing
to their
people
countries.
and stuff.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, I remember when we had David on the podcast, he was telling us that he had a checkup and he got a coronavirus test, no problem.
Have you ever been tested?
I haven't.
Me neither.
Not yet. Here we are, Jared. If one of us haven't, we're asymptomatic. We are probably screwed.
That's true.
Yep. But
that's true.
We do it for the pod, I guess. And
no, that's not why we do it. No, because I don't want to say that, because I do think we at least
we're being
still
safe.
do take effort. Like,
Yeah.
we're the only people that we see, and my partner that I live with really leaves the house less than I do.
Right.
And I
don't leave the house either. I'm here working, playing music, doing podcasts.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice here. I can't complain too much, Jared. I really
dude.
can't.
So they're allowing people into their country, is what you're saying.
Yeah, back into the Czech
All right,
Republic.
well, shout out for that.
Yeah,
Let's get back to
I think
that.
that's really amazing. Yeah.
They're not the only country doing that, though, I don't think.
Probably not, but at least that's one that I read about. And
So, like, are these people that were, like, away on vacation or something? And they're like, oh, now we got caught?
And some people, yeah, went for travels, for vacations, some for business trips, and then the pandemic happened. So... Yeah, it's really interesting that I have friends, international students that are still stuck in the U.S. and they can't go anywhere.
Sure.
And what do you do, though?
They're still in China?
No, they're stuck in the U.S.
Oh, stuck in the U.S.
Stuck
and
in
they
the
can't
U.S.
go anywhere. I got you.
Yeah. But, same thing. Either way, a lot of places people aren't going anywhere, which is good. I think to have mass transit right now, unless you can test people before they travel. And people honestly are going to not travel if they're sick. And there are selfish people. Exactly. That's why I think right now look, I would love to be able to travel, but right now I don't think it's necessarily safe.
I don't understand the people because there are people there. I've heard stories that like knowingly have COVID and they're going to like family gatherings. Right. Or they're like, oh yeah, I went to this big party at my.
Is what they say. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's like, would you do that if you had the flu? And if you would, you're still a terrible person.
Yep,
it's like that's just such an odd thing to do when you're knowingly very sick.
Yeah, it's not good. And there was a story right when everything started in January. I heard a story of a woman from China who flew to. You can find it online. She flew to France for Chinese New Year or for like holidays, and for vacation. And she apparently we don't know if she had it or not, but apparently she was feeling really ill. I don't remember if she was from Wuhan or where she was from, but she took a bunch of I forget what they're called, but it's a type of medication that will lower your body temperature. So if you're fighting a fever, if you have a fever, it will lower your body temperature. I know even ibuprofen, like Advil or Motrin or things like that can also do that.
I wonder if we're going to see an increase of mask wearing with the president's message to be patriotic and wear a mask. I wonder if that would actually help.
It would help immensely, but I don't think we're going to see it, unfortunately.
But even though he said it, he did say that.
Yeah, but do you see him? I think the issue is that because he is tested all the time, he doesn't actually really
he's
feel
only around
the need.
people that are getting tested, probably.
Right. So he doesn't really. So anytime you see him on television, for the most part, he doesn't have a mask on. But you see him with other people. So what does that tell the normal person who doesn't really think about what they see?
Sure, of course.
It tells them that, he can be around other people, not wear a mask. Why do I need to wear one? Right? And look, I know they're not convenient. I know they're not always comfortable. But I would rather have my health and my family's health in check and wear a mask and try to do what I can do to prevent things, then, the inverse is pretty terrible. You lose a family member, you lose a friend, you die,
Yeah. Wow.
It's, anyways.
Did you see, do you know who Dave Portnoy is of Barstool Sports?
I've heard the name before.
Oh, he interviewed the president. It was something.
How was it? Oh, really? Was that the one where he was talking about his dementia test he took and how great he was at it?
I think he might have mentioned that. It was. I don't watch all of it. I can only watch bits of it.
Yeah, I can only stand so much.
It was something. It really starting to feel like we're living in a cartoon or something.
Right. Speaking of making ridiculous excuses, by the way.
Oh wow.
That man, shots fired right there, I guess. Yeah. But I'm gonna say it. I mean, I think he has made some ridiculous excuses, but a lot of politicians do.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of part of being a politician in some regards, but
yeah. And it's so crazy every time, even in our state here in Michigan, every time Gretchen Whitmer, our governor, puts in some stronger ruling about like masks or a shutdown, immediately after you see like recall Gretchen Whitmer, it's trending in Michigan on Twitter, and it's
doesn't
like,
surprise me.
And it's like, how is that such a weird response for everyone to have? Where it's like, what? I don't know. It is really shocking.
Yeah.
And I wonder, man, I don't know.
Say it.
I just wonder where this is going to go.
Yeah. That's the thing is I think I hate to say, but I worry that we may be beyond the point of no return.
This is going to be up there with one of the top.
It's going to be around for a while, and
Pandemics.
it will be around here longer, I think, than it will other countries. I could be wrong.
Speaking of excuses, I am really sick of using like it does kind of bother me when people use like a vaccine as an out to it.
Right.
As soon as we get a vaccine, and I'm like, I'm not expecting that to come anytime soon. Really.
Not at least probably until 2021, and that's even if it's safe.
Right.
Yeah, and what is most difficult about everything is that I think had we have taken this more seriously in the beginning, maybe things would look differently. But hindsight's always 2020. It's really easy to play that game, and that can be a dangerous game to play, Jared, and it doesn't really help anybody. But hopefully more people will mask up. I think people are realizing it. I feel kind of like a hypocrite saying it here while I talk to you without a mask, but we're outside. There is a breeze, and as you said, we do take precautions as well.
Sometimes I feel bad when I put the video up, but but at the same time, I'm never really concerned coming over here.
Right.
Because I know that we don't see anyone else.
Exactly, and I also feel that. I don't know. Yeah, it's not only a trust thing, but I think it's also just a
logic kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And we really try to avoid recording inside unless we really have to.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think the issue is now is that you look at countries like New Zealand or Taiwan, even some parts of South Korea, and a lot of parts in China, where things are, quote unquote, back to normal. Obviously, people are wearing masks. There are certain restrictions. I know in a lot of those countries, they have some type of health tracking app, which honestly, I'm not that opposed to. Not that I like the idea of putting health information in an app, but at the same time, there's so much other personal information that's out there that people can obtain anyways.
Did you hear about, or did you see the video of the inboarding process in South Korea? If you're coming from a different country, they have like a quarantine process. They put you up into a hotel. They bring you like these three meals a day. That you have to download an app, and if you delete the app, they come looking for you, and apparently I don't know what kind of system there is, but at a certain point, if you delete the app like twice or whatever, I don't know what it is exactly, but essentially like you got to leave, and they have like put you in this hotel room, and then you sit there for 2 weeks, and then you're good to go apparently.
Right. It was like that in China before they shut the borders as well, because I talked to a few people and have seen some videos of people who went to China when they started to restrict travel more.
Wow.
Yeah, beautiful butterfly, right?
Beautiful butterfly.
I mean, I can tell you, man, when I left China, I had no quarantine. I mean, yes, I was in Bali, but I was at my mid-year conference. But I also would like to think that, I took the necessary precautions once I knew in Beijing. When I was there, I was making sure if I left the apartment, I was wearing a mask. We took all necessary precautions. Was very careful when I traveled. I never felt ill. I never had a temperature. None of that. I know it can be asymptomatic. I know, but yeah. So it's pretty crazy though, Jared. I mean, and I think it'll be like that for a while. But it blows my mind to think when I came back to the U.S., if I would have been sick, like. I could have gotten so many people sick, and they never would have known who it was.
Yeah. Nowadays, especially I listen to a lot of podcasts, I hear people coming out being like, I think I had it in January.
Right.
I think I had it in February before it was a thing here.
Yeah. Well, February, it was already a thing here.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I
think our first couple of documented cases were maybe end of February.
I mean, it was definitely a thing here before they were documenting cases,
Right.
of course. But
Right. Well, it was funny, though, Jared. I had a job interview a couple days ago. Maybe more news on that later. We'll find out. Fingers crossed. But we were talking about how, it's been difficult to transition fully online for a lot of schools and universities and stuff. But we were talking about how, I was one of the first people when this pandemic happened to lose my job. And it's really crazy just because I never would have thought, in all my years of living abroad and teaching and even just being in college, I never would have thought something like this would or could have happened. It's just so crazy.
Is this the first time you've really actively pushed your your like virtual teaching skills? Like in interviews and stuff, do you bring up? I really need to stop.
All right,
That
hit that ham horn one more time.
Oh
There
god,
we
that
go.
terrified me. Do you? What the hell were we talking about?
We're talking about teaching.
Right.
Online,
shoot. Oh yeah.
pushing your
Are
online
you like
skills.
actively like touting your online teaching abilities all of a sudden?
I wouldn't say actively touting, but I am trying to paint them a fair picture of my experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, yeah, I've taught German online. I've taught ESL online. I think it'd be fun to try to teach guitar online. That would be kind of cool. But
Yeah.
I think it would be difficult because playing an instrument is a different process, I think, than speaking a language.
You need a good camera.
Yes.
Because you really need to be able to see their hands.
Right. Right. But the other issue, though,
But you
if
also need to see like their body.
right. Yeah. So
A real good camera setup, like a 4-angle, and like maybe a
Exactly.
producer that can switch from camera.
Right.
Show me camera 3. I want to see your shoulder placement.
exactly. Where's the thumb? Camera 2, please. Exactly. Exactly.
But it's got to be possible, right?
What's
like
possible?
teaching
Guitar online? Yeah, of course.
or any instrument online, really.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think there's a steeper learning curve because
Do you see job openings for that now when you just look around at the classifieds?
not really. I'm actually surprised, and I mentioned this in the interview that I'm really surprised that I haven't seen more positions popping up for online teaching. Like I've seen some, but not really to the extent that I think there's a need, or even just online assistance. Because there's going to be a lot of universities, what they're doing, I think, is they are offering in-person classes, which are either socially distanced or they are like one-on-one kind of private studies, something like that, which you can only do so many of. So you have to move the classes somewhere if you want to.
How do you do a socially distanced like lesson?
You would probably limit the number of students in a room, and you would have them sit in certain seats.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean that's I would assume that's the concept. But anyways, the whole point of this was that there's a big need right now for people to help teachers move and adjust to teaching online. But I haven't really seen that yet in advertisements and stuff.
But is that like a brand new sort of even field that's never been breached
I think
before?
it's not necessarily new. I think it's just there's more demand.
Right, sure.
There's just more demand. I don't think it's actually new at all. I think the pandemic has caused the field to change just because of out of necessity. I mean, think about all the school teachers that went from their normal school week to school is closed and I have to teach from my living room.
Especially like, I hate to be ageist, but older teachers, you know.
Right.
It's like,
Well, yeah.
what?
Well, even for us, there's still some
television's
learning
great.
curve, for new technology.
Sure, of course.
I was telling you about my new.
Oh, I know, Chad.
my-
Trust me. I've done a podcast with you.
Right.
There's a learning curve for
There's
new technology.
just a little bit, But I think the nice thing about online teaching is there are a lot of different aspects. If your students have have good internet access and have a decent device to use, because those are two very important pieces of the puzzle that I also think we need to address. Honestly, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen come August and September when a lot of states will try to take kids back to school. I hate to say this, man, and I know this sounds really dark and bleak, but I really think they're taking kids to the slaughterhouse. These poor children are going to they're going to catch it. They may be asymptomatic or they may eventually get sick. And some of these kids will have lifelong health issues because of it.
Yeah.
Some kids may die. Some family members may die. Teachers are definitely going to die if you're around that many kids. And this is an airborne aerosol type of virus. It's dangerous.
This could be the next Spanish flu,
That's what some people say. So we'll see. But I think a lot of. I think
it's
the
really
issue
exposing. That's the thing
Yeah.
about it. It really exposes weaknesses and
Yes,
like
yes.
arrogances,
You know what it really exposes as well.
and where the money is too.
Yes, where the money is, the weaknesses, and it also exposes
Jeff
our
Bezos.
priorities as well. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, sure. Of
Our
course.
priorities, our weaknesses, as you mentioned. Oh, I had another one. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
The Jeff Bezos was a kind of
Yeah,
a funny
I'm sorry.
crack. But yeah, it's just going to be dangerous. There's no way about it. This is what I wanted to say. I think we have been in the United States the entire time everything has been happening. A lot of governors, a lot of states, and the federal government has been taking a very reactive approach to everything.
Yeah.
But the problem with reacting to anything is you will never get ahead of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're always reacting.
You're chasing it.
Exactly. You're chasing it. You need to be active, proactive. You need to.
Stop it in its tracks.
Exactly. You need to have, take preventative measures rather, to make sure that nothing bad will happen.
And
or
the
minimize
thing is,
it.
Like, and the sort of also run it out as a business thing. Like, that's even still standard business practice,
Right.
To have like a rainy day fund, or what if demand goes down? We need to at least have some. Ideally, especially big companies,
Right.
Like, all right, we need to have some sort of reserve and some sort of way to
question
pay
is
people.
my question is about the companies getting a reserve. Why is it we expect people to have this amount of reserve and most don't? And then when something terrible like this happens, they don't really get very much support.
Right, the big companies do, though, with the small business loans.
But then the big companies have millions of dollars of profits year on year, and they can't save any of that for rainy day fund. That's what confuses me a little bit,
Yeah.
And I know it's not that clear cut and that simple.
Sure.
But
that is sort of the way for business, even like a company like Tesla, for example. Like, the way they survive is sort of that hype and that constant inflow of money. Like they really do survive on hype. And I think that, like, a lot of companies in general today are surviving on hype and, like, more new. And that's like, so
consume. You need to consume, Jared.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's pretty crazy.
Are we going to do some untranslatables?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you have
Let's
any?
get to
Want
it.
to talk more about how we're all doomed?
No, but that was a very long tangent to our shout out for the Czech Republic. I don't think we ever did. We finally spread them love. Did we?
Yeah,
all
we did.
All right, then. Yeah, let's go on to the untranslatable.
For allowing family members to come in.
That's right. Family members and partners. But yeah. Anyways, that is the untranslatable owl, which means we will be doing some untranslatables, which are idioms, phrases, axioms, adverbs, proverbs, words that do not translate one-to-one into English in a smooth or easy fashion. So we are here to decipher these untranslatables for you.
Sure.
So get us started today, Jared.
My first one is Croatian. This fan keeps twisting. It's very annoying. How's yours so steadfast and confident?
It's all about balance, Jared. Balance.
Tiha voda brega dere. Silent water cuts through hills.
I like that one. That's a cool one. Silent water cuts through hills. Is it like it's better to be humble and not brag about your stuff? You'll be more successful. No?
Not really. I'll
No,
tell you that
okay.
this is something I hear my parents tell me when they made me like do one of those like math sort of workbooks during summer when I was 8. They're like, they'd say like, Jared, still water cuts through hills. One day you'll be applying to college, and
It's like it's worth the effort.
yeah, hard work pay. The
Hard work
importance
pays
of hard
off.
work.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I like that one. Can you say that one more time? What is it?
Parada.
Still water. Silent water cuts through hills.
That's
Excuse
a good
me.
one. All right, Jared, I'm going to start you off with
Oh, it's the fan I'm hearing.
Yep.
I'm so distracted by noises with these headphones on.
You're good. All right, I will get you started with the German one. I think you may know this one, but we'll see. It is Du nimmst mich auf den Arm.
You take me on the arm is what the literal translation would be.
Correct. Correcto mundo.
You take me on the arm. It's like, do you take me for a fool? Do you think I'm
Okay, so if you take
naive?
someone for a fool, what does that mean? You might be.
Gullible?
Okay, and if you're gullible, someone could easily...
Fool you. Steal from you. Take advantage of you.
So the German one has to do with arms. The English one has to do with a different body part.
Oh, that made it even harder all of a sudden.
That's what she said.
Can you give me the German one? You're taking
Du
me...
nimmst mich auf den Arm. Taking me on the arm.
You're like, well, it's like you're taking me for like a fool, like you're ripping me off, essentially.
You're pulling my leg.
Pulling my leg. Oh, you're
The
like
body part. Pulling my
so
leg.
pulling my leg is like you're like messing with me.
Yeah, you're joking
Yeah.
around. You
Pulling
messing
my
with me.
leg,
Pulling my
yeah.
leg. Yeah, you taking me on the arm, Jared? Like you
That's
messing with me?
very old school, untranslatable at this point. Not the German one. I don't know about that one.
Oh,
But
pull someone's
the
leg.
pulling someone's leg.
That is.
Now it feels very southern to me. If it, like it reminds, I feel
Pulling
like
somebody's leg.
something my aunt or uncle would say. In Louisiana.
Is it because you like to pull people's legs, Jared?
Yeah, I also hear it all the time. Maybe not anymore, but maybe I used to hear it more. My next untranslatable is Arabic, and it's Fi al-waj mirayatan wafi al-kwafa siyadmaya. Mirror in the face, a shoe in the back.
Is Is that a mullet?
No.
Party
That's
in the front,
hilarious.
business, or no? Business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah, no, no, it's not though.
What was it again? Mirror in the face.
Mirror in the face, a shoe in the back.
A shoe in the back or a shoot?
Shoe.
Shoe in the back. Okay.
This is an Arabic saying. by
Mirror
the
in
way.
the face, shoe. And I know shoes. Are very like feet and shoes
Right.
can be a very derogatory thing in Middle Eastern cultures.
That's why I mentioned it as an Arabic thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because this is
yeah.
not this is not a
Is it
nice
like
thing to call someone.
call someone a backstabber?
Very good, Chad.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Double face, two-faced. I think
Two-faced.
that's a backstabber.
Yeah, backstabber. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep, very good.
Two-faced, you're probably
Very
a backstabber.
good.
All
Mirror
right.
in the. How'd you get that? Because when I was picking this one, I was like, this one doesn't add up. Mirror in the face,
No, it
shoe
makes
in the
sense.
back. Where it's like, all right, with mirror in the face, so it's like they're only looking at themselves. They only care
Right.
about themselves. And then
But see, if you're willing to throw a shoe at someone's back, that would be like backstabbing.
Right.
I guess that's
Sure,
where
okay,
my
okay,
line of thought
okay,
came
okay.
from.
So they're
Yeah.
they don't respect you when they look you in the face, and then they
Right.
backstab you essentially.
Correct. Yes,
Okay,
correct.
that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, my second
Gotcha.
untranslatable for you. This one's kind of a double whammy for you, Jared. It has
Double
two
whammy.
two different meanings. That's
Okay.
right. And it is either tener mala leche, which means what, Jared? It's Spanish.
Something about milk.
To have bad milk,
To have bad milk.
tener mala leche, or ser mala leche, which means to be bad milk.
To be bad milk. Is
So
it like
these-
to like ruin the vibe at a party?
Which one? Because they have different meanings. So if
To
you
be
have
bad milk is to ruin the vibe.
okay, you're getting warm. You're getting warm.
To be bad
If
milk.
if you ruin the
To be
vibe,
bad luck.
what type of a person might you be? If
You're a
ruining the
negative
vibe?
person.
Okay, and why are you negative?
You
What
ever-
do you do that's negative?
You complain a lot.
Okay,
You are depressed, maybe.
are you friendly and polite to people?
You're short with people. You're very passive aggressive.
Sure. Or I would go out to say you are mean.
Mean, just straight
Yeah.
up mean.
To be bad milk means you're mean.
Yep. Okay.
So if someone's being mean, maybe you could be like, "Don't be bad milk."
And what was the other one though? There's another one.
to
wasn't there?
have bad milk.
And that
That one,
you said they're different, right?
yes, they do. And this one, actually, I think you did guess it when you were just rattling off guesses.
Okay, because I don't remember what it would be.
So let me help you. In German, you would say you had a pig.
You had a pig.
Mm-hmm.
Like bad
Schwein
luck.
gehabt. Is it bad or good luck to have a pig?
Oh, it's good luck to
It's
have a
good
pig.
luck. Germans
That's
love
good
their
eating.
pork. Oh
Good
yeah, it's
eating.
great eating. So yeah, so it's to have bad luck though. This one
Okay.
is to have bad milk, to have bad luck.
I gotcha.
Mhm.
I have one more, and actually, it's kind of similar. It's Catalan, and it's comes sedem mis horarium horarium RIUREM.
I have no idea how you would say that.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a good roller. The more we will be, the more we will laugh. Do you feel that way? Do you feel that way, Chad?
With you, Jared,
No, well, that's not what that really means.
No.
Just in
the
general.
more we will be, the.
The more we will be, the more we will laugh. Think about it.
Is it like you're living a happy life?
Think about it. You're at a cafeteria, and someone's like, "Hey, can I come eat with you?"
Oh, the more we eat.
No, the more we will be, the more we will laugh. But I'm saying, so to say, this is the example. You're at a cafeteria. It's like, "Hey, can I eat with you?" And you would respond, "The more we will be, the more we will laugh."
Oh, the more the merrier.
There you go. That's exactly what
The
they
more
say.
the
The more the
merrier.
merrier.
Okay.
Do you feel that way? The more we will be, the more we will laugh. I like that saying, by the way.
It's a good saying. I don't know if it's on. Sounds
Depends
great
on
on
who the
paper.
people are, yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's well, first of all, it depends on where you are, how much space you have, logistically
so.
speaking, but also the people who you're with. But generally, I would say the more the merrier.
I like that untranslatable.
It's a good
it
one.
It seems very positive, you know.
Yeah,
That's all I have, by the way.
nice.
Let's talk about some ridiculous excuses.
Let's do it. Yeah, the whole reason why I thought of this is a couple weeks ago I was scrolling through
What did you
Reddit.
think of this?
I was scrolling through Reddit and just came across some funny stories of just people making, and this was just ridiculous excuses in general. But then, that got the gears turning, Jared. I started to think, as a teacher, I have for sure had students give me some ridiculous excuses. And I'm going to tell you about one. I have changed a student's name for his confidentiality.
Or her, or their.
Or exactly. Sorry, I shouldn't have. Yeah. Anyways, I've changed this student's name for their anonymity.
Anonymity.
That's a tough word to say, but
Anonymity.
yes. Anonymity. Thank you. Say that 5 times fast, Jared. Anyways,
It's a good stripper name. Anonymity.
oh, jeez. Is Mystery her boyfriend? Or Naive is her younger
Naive.
sister?
I don't know if that's a good name. Naive.
Right. Anyways, and this student, we'll call them Bobby. Bobby came to the first week of my German classes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw him once before the midterm, once before the final, and he obviously failed the class because a lot of the class grade was based on class participation. Homework turned in, which he did not do. And so
I really don't understand that.
I don't know.
Honestly, when I was in college, the one thing, I'm like, listen, I might not be the best student, but I got to show up to like 95% of these classes at least. And I remember for my what was it, ceramics class, I was like, oh man, I'm not a good artist. Like, I hope this doesn't mess up my GPA or whatever. And the teacher was like, you showed up to almost all the classes. Like, that's really the main goal. Like that's the main part of this class is to show effort.
Right. Well, I think that's the main thing with most classes, to be honest.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I would prefer a student any day that shows up and does the work at an average level than a student who's a genius but never comes to class, never
Really?
puts in the work.
Even if
Oh,
they
yeah.
just passed the test and everything?
Well, it depends.
Well, then it's just like, why are you wasting your time? Why are you even in
Right.
this class?
Right. Well, and the thing is, I pride myself, to be honest, as not being this test-based teacher
Sure.
where you're taking my class to just pass a test.
Do people like to hear that in interviews?
I don't know.
Do you bring that up in
I've never
interviews?
said that. I mean, I say that I am a goal-oriented teacher because that's true. You know, I try to set measurable objectives for my lessons and stuff like that.
Sure.
But that's different than saying what we were talking about
Homework
earlier.
and tests.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, and I've told you before, when I give my ESL students or German students homework, sometimes I try to give them homework that's a little bit outside of the box. You know, before all this stuff happened, I would have my students actually go out and talk to people, especially when I was
I would
teaching
hate
ESL.
that.
I know you would have.
Hate that.
But you would have also, like, if I would have made you do that in Austria, you probably would have made a friend or two, maybe.
Probably.
And you would have improved on your German. And over time, if you would have done it for a couple months,
These are good points.
if you would have done it for a couple months, you probably would be a lot more confident in your German abilities.
These are good points.
You know, I mean, me living with Tomas really helped. I have to give Tomas a lot of credit. Actually, I
For
need to
sure.
hit him up. Shout out to you, Tomas.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways.
You betcha.
So, yeah, just ridiculous excuses. So
You know
yeah.
what? When you first brought up ridiculous excuses to me the other day, the first thing that it made me think of in modern day society is the anti-mask excuses.
Which is what?
There's the I have a medical exemption.
Okay.
When I wear them, I can't breathe.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And it's like, or it's like, I'm not, like, you can't, like, you're infringing upon my rights.
That's not what it's about. I'm sorry.
Well, I know, but
that's
it's
not what
just like, that's the first thing I thought of when I heard ridiculous excuses.
Right.
And it's just like, especially the ones where it's like, I can't breathe in them, where it's like, but people are doing this every day.
Yeah, people. I sat in a plane for 13 hours with a mask on, didn't take it off.
Did
Only
you
took
see
it off to eat.
Chuck Woolery? You know who Chuck Woolery is? He's like an
that
old
guy.
sort of
He's a joke.
conservative, but he used to be like a commentator presenter on various game shows and shit in the U.S. And he was like, it's a hoax, it's stupid, it's being propagated by the left and the Democrats.
And then didn't his son catch?
Yeah, the next day he's like, my son has
caught
it, and then he
yeah.
deleted his Twitter.
Of course he did.
Um,
Of course he did. But yeah, so ridiculous excuses. Yeah. So I didn't finish my story with Bobby though, Jared.
oh, right.
So
Sure,
let me
excuse
finish my
sorry.
Bobby story. And this was actually, I think, my first or second year as a teaching assistant. So this was a great learning experience for me.
Yeah.
So if we have any teachers listening right now, take this as a learning experience. So this student Bobby, he was also in ROTC, which adds for our foreign listeners out there. ROTC is like a military program that will help pay for your college, basically.
It's
you
like
have
for
to
children, right?
No, ROTC is military.
Oh, excuse me. That's like the beginning of. That's like the training.
Yeah,
to
and
go
then
into
you go into the military for I think two or three
That's
years.
like the beginning training.
Yeah,
the
in
beginning
college.
steps to go
Yes.
into the military.
Yes, and so he was probably at least a junior or senior. He was an older student. I mean,
Oh,
he
so
was almost
trying
done.
to be an officer.
So yeah, and so he was trying to get, he needed a certain GPA in order to get that officer status. And what he had told me was my class was the one that would be the tipping point.
I
where-
hate these people that do the math. By the way,
Well, it wasn't even do the math. because I had reached out to him and I had told him, look, you're still in my class roster. This is a month and a half past the drop point. I know you. Technically, you're still enrolled.
So you're saying if you don't give him a certain score, he's not going to be able to go into his ROTC, the next step of his ROTC program?
Well, that's not. I mean, that's what
what he was saying?
What he implied. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
He said, I need to get a certain grade.
Did that scare you? You're a nice guy. I could imagine you being like, ugh.
The years,
Okay.
the older I get, Jared, I hate to say this.
Yes,
I think the kinder I get, but I don't get nicer. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Because I think niceness is more of. I don't think it's bad to be nice.
You have been having this challenge with what's nice and what it means to be nice recently. We've talked about this a few times on and off mic in the past couple of weeks.
Exactly. So anyways, so he tells me this, and I told him, look, I've reached out to you multiple times. You never showed up to my class.
You did your part.
I tried to do. I will gladly meet my students halfway or 40% of the way. But honestly, really, they need to do the work. I should really be meeting them 20 or 30% of the way.
Yeah, you have to care past just trying to achieve some sort of threshold.
So anyways, but the funny thing is, Jared, so when he tried to explain why he missed certain tests, because if he would have actually just taken some of the tests and quizzes we had, which were all on the syllabus, by the way, so it wasn't like he didn't know these things. The information wasn't available to him. He never showed up. And then he told me, well, I got in a car accident this day. He was just
wow.
Oh, yeah. Here's the other crazy thing, though, Jared. He was in such a, and I feel bad for this kid, but he was in such.
Did he make that up?
Just wait.
Oh,
I'm not done with my story, Jared. So
I'm so excited.
I feel so bad for this kid, but he said he had been in a few car accidents, which could have been true. I don't know. But then he also said that his grandparents had passed away. Now, the funny thing is, Jared, is he failed this German course the semester before. So this was, I believe, spring semester. It's almost summertime, just to put this in perspective for you and all of our listeners. Nice weather. It's almost summertime. The students are ready to, go home for the summer.
Podcast outdoors.
Exactly. And so I asked Kate, who was my colleague at the time, who taught him the semester before, and I said, hey, why did he fail your class? Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, he never showed up, and he didn't take the test, and he didn't do the homework, and he showed up for the first week or 2 weeks, and then he bounced.
I'll say this, and that's something that never even really crossed my mind. I would bet most students don't think or don't realize how much teachers talk to each other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like because that's so simple of a thing to do.
Right.
And that just highlights. All right, it's not just like he doesn't care,
Right. And how many grandparents do most normal people have, right? So
hey, listen, one can die, but two, get out of here.
Right.
Also, if you're having multiple car accidents, I think maybe that's just a sign that you should start.
You shouldn't be driving. Yeah. No kidding.
That's not my problem. Yeah. I feel sorry for the other people on the road.
Right. But yeah, so that was a really
as I drive home soon.
Right. But what I learned from that scenario is, look, you as a teacher, any person in power or authority, even if you're just a teaching assistant, you're not, even if you're just a volunteer, if you are still the one who is responsible and in charge, you need to stand your ground. Yeah. And I told him, I said, look, I'm really sorry. I wish I could help you. Mm-hmm.
I tried to help you.
Right.
Did he cry?
He didn't cry. He didn't cry at me.
Okay.
I've actually, I don't think I've ever had
cry for a grade.
Right. I've had little children cry when I was teaching like a German camp for kids.
You're terrifying to look at.
Yes. I mean, beard, terrifying. Huge muscles, incredibly hairy. No. Anyways. But yeah, kids crying in class is usually for a different reason, right? Somebody took their pencil,
right?
Or they need a nap, or they're hungry, or something like that. I'm talking 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds.
Sure.
But college kids, I've never had one cry on me. I remember at MSU though,
don't cry on me.
They have a designated crying room where faculty can take, students there if they need a moment. Which is actually good though, because
the faculty takes students there, so it's not just for like students to go like, I need a minute.
I don't know. Yeah, you probably have to be faculty because I'm sure you have to unlock the door.
Did you ever need a crying room in college? Especially, or for at least based off of your educational purposes. Maybe
like I got so stressed I wanted to cry.
You could use a crying room, but I mean because of school-related purposes.
School-related, no. The only time I've really I've never cried in school because of it was too difficult or it was too much work. I've never cried because of that.
I'm going to fully redo this so it doesn't move. Go ahead.
That's fine. The only time that I can remember in at least the last 5 to 10 years of me crying, not because of like loss of a loved one or something like this,
Sure.
was actually, and this will sound super corny, and feel free to give me shit if you want, Jared, but
No. Come on.
when I found out I got the Fulbright to the Czech Republic.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I cried, but it wasn't like a sobbing. It was like a holy shit. I read the email.
Yeah.
I called. Gonna sound like a mama's boy here, but first thing I did was call up my mom and was like, crying a little bit. I was like, I did it. I got it. I couldn't believe it.
I kind of had that feeling when I got my job post layoff. That was very triumphant.
Sure.
And it felt like as we call it, the Lewis Hamilton fist pump. He's a
Nice.
Formula One driver.
Yeah.
He always, when he wins, he always does the same thing.
A lot of athletes do that.
Yeah, or like a
Tennis
Tiger
guys,
Woods
Tiger
guy.
Woods,
that's-
yep.
Yeah. That's a very. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah. So I get that. Let's think of some other excuses.
I mean,
So-
I've got some crazy ones. I want to tell you a quick one. One of that happened
Do you
to
get
me.
them all the time?
Not all the time, but sometimes. I mean,
Okay.
any teacher. I think it depends on. I think the reason why I get maybe more excuses than some teachers is I'm probably not as strict or as firm. But I think that's a double-edged sword.
Right.
I think another reason why I hear some of these excuses is students feel comfortable enough to talk to me.
So some of them are real excuses. You're saying?
Yeah.
but they're
Oh, yeah. Some of these are
excuses
legit.
You might not
Right.
recommend telling people.
Right. Like I have one. I want to tell you a short one. When I was a student in school, I was probably in 8th or 9th grade. I don't know how, but I was doing my math homework in the kitchen here. Jared's been to my parents' house enough to know where stuff is. And I was doing homework there, and I think my mom had some work documents somewhere else on the same table. I think you can kind of start to see where this might be going. Well, I can't really divulge a ton of details on what my mom does, but
But
it
she
was,
works for the
but
government.
it was
and
important
they're
information
listening to this
that
right now.
needed to be shredded.
Okay.
So she took it upstairs to be shredded, and I don't know if I went to go play video. I went to go do
Offshore
something.
banking is what
right,
she does.
Right, of course. Thanks. I'm gonna have a knock on the door tomorrow, or after this episode drops, and you're the first. Actually, no, my lawyer is the first person I'm gonna call. You're gonna be the second person, Jared.
The DEA is going to show up at my door.
Anyways, so she accidentally shredded my math homework.
Really?
My, like 8th or 9th
Did she
grade.
actually?
She shredded it
Wow.
because I remember
That must feel so good.
I remember coming inside, and my mom, I think, either
yes.
called or emailed, my math teacher and told her what happened and said, I
Wow.
know this sounds ridiculous.
You're a very responsible mother.
Yeah, and so she bought it. I had to redo the homework, but I didn't get
Sure.
late or anything like that. But I just thought that was so hilarious. Like, what are the odds of and some people listening right now are probably thinking, oh, Chad, you probably put your math homework there. But the honest truth is, I was halfway done with the homework.
I thought you were going to say you turned in like important documents as your math
Ooh, that would be awkward.
like you got it mixed up and you were like turning in your
some
mom's
confidential,
right. confidential
Ooh,
work
that'd be terrible.
documents
I'm sure that's
as
happened
your
before.
math homework.
I'm sure children have brought
Probably
some
not
stuff.
anymore, but
Right.
I could definitely imagine that happening like back when we were kids and back.
Right.
When like there were papers all over the I mean there's still
Oh,
papers all
definitely.
over my house.
Oh, mine too. But yeah, so some more excuses though. I mean, obviously, I think this one might be a cross-cultural one for a lot of students. Is my dog ate my homework?
How do you feel about? Okay, yeah, but do people like? I mean, that still happens, I guess. Has that happened to you? You've always had a dog in your life. I've never had. Really had a dog.
She's never eaten. None of my dogs have ever eaten
Okay.
my homework. No.
Have you ever? That, but no one really believes that anymore.
I don't know though. It can happen. I mean, it can totally happen.
Sure, of course it can happen. Yeah,
dogs.
yeah.
I mean, Prudy, our current basset hound, she will shred like if it's gift wrap. I feel like if my homework was shiny, she would maybe
Shiny
go for
homework,
it. If
sure.
it was like a
Some sort of
wrapping
art
paper.
project,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I understand that. I guess that makes sense.
Right. I think the key with excuses though, and there's actually a funny one I read online that I want to mention too. The key though with some excuses is some are so ridiculous they seem to not be real. But I think because they're so ridiculous, it also, in an odd way, gives that person some credibility. Because it's so here's one that I found online, and if you think it's true or not, that's
I
up to you.
understand. Is by saying that, do you mean like they try so hard to come up with an excuse that it's almost kind of at like
No.
you respect that they're trying this hard to hide something from
No,
you?
what I'm saying is something happened that's so ridiculous it seems like it couldn't have actually happened.
Oh, I see.
That you would think at first, at face value, there's no way that's real.
Sure.
But then it's so ridiculous, and if there is a way you can maybe prove a little bit more credibility, then it makes it seem even more credible. For example, I think when I tell you this story, it'll make more sense because I don't think I'm being very clear and making much sense. So let me try. So this college student was taking an online test.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why you would take an online test and eat a sandwich, a Subway sandwich at the same time, I do not know. But she was eating. I don't know if it was Subway, but she was eating some type of sandwich and it had meatballs. And if anyone has ever eaten a meatball sub in the States, there can be good-sized meatballs.
Meatball sub while doing a test. It's like a standardized test.
And some online test for one of her classes, and apparently the meatball fell down on her keyboard, hit either escape or hit some key, and it logged her out of the test, and she was like a third of the way done, and so she ended up failing with like 39% on the test. So she emailed the professor saying, this is what happened. I know it sounds ridiculous. This is what happened, If you won't let me retake it, I understand, but this is what happened, and
I just have to take the consequences.
Right.
It is what it is.
Right, but see,
I was
think,
hungry.
Right, but see, I think that's a difference as well, Jared.
$5 foot long.
That's right. And $5 is, hey, I could make a foot long. That could be two meals right there.
That's true. Although I will say, I think I'm anti-Subway at this point.
I'm not a Subway guy either.
I feel like there's no reason for me to go to Subway again ever.
I can make a sandwich more or less that's just as tasty.
Probably
at home, yeah, and probably cheaper. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is that is such a ridiculous story.
Yeah,
that
of course.
could you even really fabricate that? Like who is going to sit in their room and be like, I'm going to tell my professor a meatball fell on my laptop and that's why.
But I don't think it's that ridiculous that it's oh you couldn't. It's not you couldn't even make that up. Levels of ridiculous to me.
Well, that's true. I mean, you definitely can make it up.
But it sounds like a Three Stooges sketch or something. You know?
Right.
Like It doesn't sound. It's like is that even real? Like why are you eating and it's like and at what point is it on you? It's like you're eating a sub while you're taking a big test. Why would you do that?
Now I will say though the professor did give her a chance to retake it.
That's
so
very nice.
I think that's nice.
People are very forgiving. That's very shocking to me. I've never been. I hate like asking for extensions on stuff in college, especially. I hate like excuses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very anti-excuse. I rather people just own up and be like for example. No, I'm not gonna. Once again, you didn't name. Let's pretend this person's name is also Bobby.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say who this person is.
Maybe Bobby just needs to be our go-to poor person for our example name.
Sure.
Anyways, so Bobby.
So let's say Bobby and I do a podcast together, and because I happen to do this podcast, I don't edit another podcast. Okay. So
so Bobby,
what do you call it when the publishing of episodes is very sporadic, and every time it's like off of the schedule that was set. There's some sort of excuse for why it's happening. There's something happening at work, or it's like, oh, it's been a busy week, and it's like I kind of don't respect that. I almost kind of prefer you just be like, yeah, I didn't feel like doing it.
Yeah,
that's fair. Because it's like first of all, it's like it takes like 30 minutes tops, Well, you're not doing like
and
audio
your other
surgery
podcast,
here.
And your other podcast isn't as long as ours normally, is it?
No, it's like 20 to 30 minutes.
20 to 30
and it's just
minutes,
audio, there's no video.
I can't imagine just doing 20 or 30 minutes now with you.
Yeah, I know.
I can't imagine, man. It must be difficult.
So long. Actually, it's kind of nice. I kind of like it.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I still like this too. I prefer it longer in general. But
that's what she said.
But it's just the excuses, It's like I almost respect more if you just say like, yeah, I didn't feel like doing it, because it's like I love how like it's just like you're always busy, Like there's always, and I think in the U.S. because it's not even just Bobby. I have various friends, even friends that I don't like do like something with, or I don't have some sort of quote unquote obligation with. I feel like that is a very common American excuse, is that like I was busy with work or something.
Sure.
It's like, oh, sorry, I was working. Like that's a very common, or like, oh, I'm real busy right now. I feel like people are always real busy right now with work.
It's too
sorry, there's a
for a lack of a better phrase here, Jared, it's to lubricate those social gears. Because I mean, what's less confrontational if I tell you I didn't feel like doing it, or to you I think you understand and you appreciate the realness.
Especially since I do something like this, I sort of understand what
goes
it takes.
into it. Yeah, 100%.
So especially for someone to do something a lot less than we do here, and and to have like those excuses of not having enough time. It's like I can do this right now that we do in like 40 minutes tops.
Right. I mean, a 20-minute podcast should take you maybe half an hour.
Right.
To edit,
You just it's not that complicated,
especially with no video.
And so, but I also understand like not prioritizing it, and I kind of respect that if that's how you organize your life. But it's like, don't like make it seem like there's all these sort of excuses every single time where it's like, well, it's clearly just not a priority at this point.
Right.
And I feel like it is just, and that's just an example. He's not the only one. I hear so many people I know, like even have a friend that we talk a lot, and every time I talk to him, it's like, oh, work's really busy, or like, oh, like I'm got a deadline coming. There's always some sort of like, that's a very common excuse in the U.S. is to be busy.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
because I don't think I'm as busy as everyone else claims to be. Am I the problem? And like when people ask me about work, I'm not like going off on like these like, oh my gosh, this is the hardest week. I got all these. It's like, no, I mean, like I'm still doing stuff, but it's sort of like a normal. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't just relate to that, and I feel like everyone is busy all the time.
I got to tell you, Jared, you're not the problem. Number one, you're definitely not.
Am I not working hard enough at my job?
No, you're. I would say that you value managing your time, and I do too.
I guess
I've been really busy as well. I've been really busy as well with a couple music projects I've been working on.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, you make time for what's important. And this podcast is important to you. It's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
We set aside, a big chunk of our Saturdays or our Sundays to do this.
Sure.
And so I agree with you. And I think excuses a lot of times too is it's a mechanism for people to try to save face or sometimes save their ass too.
Sure. Yeah, they're like covering up. Yeah,
you make a big mistake. Right.
Yeah, it's like it's not me. It's just
right.
It's kind of like similar like when we were talking about apologies, where it's like you're not really apologizing. You're just like
right.
Yeah.
I think you take more agency, power, and ownership though if you just own up to it, like you said, and just be like, honestly, I didn't feel like doing it.
I do feel like I would respect if it's like, listen, I don't know. Yeah, it's like it's just not a priority to me.
Right. Right. But let's talk about some more ridiculous excuses, though.
What's another common one? I'm thinking about social media excuses. That's where my head is always at. And I think about so I mentioned like the anti-maskers have their all excuses of like, I have a doctor's note. Like you're
a lot of the I'm not racist people have a I excuses.
That's exactly where I was going with this. Was the social media racism was also a popular one, and the excuse of like whether I have black friends or it's like, oh, this is
why does that matter? I've always wondered why.
Yeah.
Why do people always use that as a? I always
wonder.
Be racist.
I always wonder too when they say that. Like, would those black people come out like right now and be like, "Those are me," and I stand by this person's.
That's a really great point. Yeah, that's a. Yeah, sadly,
I think we've talked about this, and it's just like it's very the people's idea of racism is very simple, and it's like, are you nice to black people or not in your immediate lifestyle is sort of the end of racism. It's like I have friends and I treat them like my white friends, and they come over to dinner. And it's like that's sort of the extent of what it means to be racist or not,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's deeper than that,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's why it's easy to use that as an excuse. It's like, but I'm nice to black people,
Yeah.
So I think that's why. But it's a very some of those excuses do shock me. Like for example, like that all lives matter stuff like that really shocks me.
Why does
just
it
because
shock
we've been
you?
having these conversations for so long,
But that's why it shouldn't shock you.
So it really is just shocking that people like are trying so like even if I didn't believe in Black Lives Matter, I feel like I would be smart enough to be like, well, I'm not going to say all lives matter. I would just say, I don't know. I would just say why Black Lives Matter is dumb or something. By the way, that's not how I feel. I do believe in Black Lives Matter, but like that's what I feel. That's how I feel like I would approach it.
I hate to say it, Jared, but I think you're giving these people too much credit.
I guess so.
I think you're giving these people way too much credit.
That's
true. But yeah, I think the other thing with excuses too is people realize they're not holding themselves up to a high enough standard in some regards. Now, some excuses are legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Like when my math homework got shredded. That's an example. There are all sorts of examples sometimes. Or
are you a punctual person?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It always blows my mind the people that are perpetually late. That's another just an endless road of
right.
And once again, it kind of and in that sense, it's even harder to just be honest with it. But even more, I kind of wish people would be like, listen, I just didn't prioritize my time, and that's why I'm late.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing with being late too, I think in order to avoid being late, you have to really
prepare.
Yeah, you have to be on your game.
I was late today, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was because of traffic. That's a legit
common excuse. That's also a common.
That is a common
though.
excuse, but that's a common excuse because it does happen.
It's a little harder to pull that excuse nowadays, though. Although I'm sure people going in and checking the Waze or Google Maps results.
Oh, you better
to
believe I
verify
did
that
when you
as an
texted me
excuse or
that,
not.
Jared.
But I hate that excuse. But also, if it happens, I guess it happens.
Right.
And also,
It's happened to all of us.
It's about how often it happens.
Right. Well, yeah, because if you're getting caught in traffic all the time, maybe you're just not leaving soon
Which
enough.
is why I stopped to respect. Which is why I stopped respecting the "I was busy" thing. Where it's like, well, clearly you're always busy. So how about you just
Right.
get a better understanding of what your schedule is like? Because every
Right.
time I talk to you, you tell me you're busy. So it's like this is just your life. You're not more busy than usual because you say you're
Right.
overly busy every week.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. If it's a consistent, I think that's when excuses become. What's a word that's like excuse but even stronger? Like a, you know what I mean? It's not even an excuse anymore. It's just like a.
It's just like a.
You know what I mean, though, right?
Yeah, like a go-to sort of. It's like a.
Like it just loses
excuse, but
any type of legitimacy if it's consistent.
Sure, it's like the boy who cried wolf almost.
Right. Yeah, it just has no. It's like lost words, really.
Did
Or
you get a
lost
lot of
breath.
excuses in China? How would they handle excuses?
So that
in
was
China?
the interesting thing about China is, I
have failed
first,
you. I am
First of all, I only had one student actually that failed. I had over 200 students while I was in China. I only had one student fail.
If you were in the U.S. and you had 200 students, say at U of M or any sort of college, it doesn't matter.
Watch it.
I shouldn't have said any name. I don't know. Why.
Triggered. I'm already triggered, Jared.
I almost said MSU, but I was like, well, I don't want to talk about you failing people because you have more of a connection to MSU, and you'd probably be more likely to work there. Anyway, at any sort of college in the U.S.
or elsewhere,
and you were to have in the U.S. specifically, because you brought up how you only.
One student failed.
Yeah, in China. How many people would you expect to fail out of like 200 in the U.S.?
In the U.S.,
yeah.
What
and not feel guilty about
what type of course? Do you mean like the equivalent level course?
Yeah, sure.
Equivalent level course. So English teaching methodology class. So this would be like in the States, it would be like a teaching and learning type of class.
And say you're just your general college.
I would guess in the States there'd probably be 200 students.
5.
At least 5 to 10, yeah. 5 to 10.
So what's that?
Depends.
5% to like 2.5% to 5%?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I think.
That's fair.
Yeah. But in China,
Do you think
really get a lot
they
of
should be
excuses.
harder on? Sometimes I feel like they're a little too easy in college. Like they're a little too accepting of letting people through. I was shocked, really. No joke. I was shocked at the level of excuses you're allowed to have in college to get out of, like for extensions and stuff.
Right.
Like that didn't really fly in my high school.
That's because you went to a private high school.
Sure.
And in colleges, even though we went to a private liberal arts school,
I feel like a lot of the grading scheme at my high school was more strict than in college. Like their standards of grading.
Well, I think it's because in college it's not so much always about just the end grade.
Sure,
I
it's
think
not about the minutia of it. Too.
Right,
Sure.
right, exactly. But yeah, I want to talk more though about students making excuses because I did notice that, Jared. In China, I didn't really have students make excuses. In the Czech Republic, I had some students make some excuses.
Would they say like hungover? Would they be bold enough to say something like that?
I had a few like final year or senior students who they were of drinking age, and yeah, I mean,
but even though you're of drinking age, like people at jobs are of drinking age, and I don't think that's ever a great excuse.
It's a terrible
it's like,
excuse.
listen, if you have a hangover, you got to keep that to yourself.
Right. Well, that's true. That is true, and I know plenty of people who've taught with hangovers.
I never bring up that I even if I do have a hangover, I'm like, especially now that I mean, it's even easier now that I work from home to keep it to yourself.
I tell you what, the worst hangovers are when you have to wake up early and have to record an all day long piano recital.
What does that even mean? Oh, that was your
me
job
in college.
That
was me in college. That was rough.
Oh yeah, because I do those on like Saturday mornings.
But see, once again, no excuses. I felt like shit, which was my own fault though. I take full responsibility. I signed up. I didn't sign up. I was asked by my boss to do it because
but it's a job essentially.
Yeah, and I showed up and I did the job. Made sure to stay hydrated. Always stay hydrated out there, people, for sure.
That's the number one rule out here.
That is true. See, T-shirt right there, buddy. Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
Boom, easy.
There we go.
Anyways, but with excuses too, I can tell generally. I would like to think I can tell with my students if it's genuine, if it's a real excuse, and even through email, you can still kind of tell.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's true.
And the way your students respond, this will sound kind of weird or kind of a bit meta here, but the way you respond to how your students ask will also show you if they're innocent or not.
Sure.
Usually if they're willing to work with you, they're probably innocent. But if they expect a certain outcome, if they expect you to give them like 100% on their quiz or whatever, generally speaking, I tend to find those are the students that they don't see any wrongdoing. But you're making an excuse because, in theory, something was wrong.
Sure.
Whether or not you did that is a different story, but it might be because of something you did, so you still have to take responsibility for it, right? So that's
hear you.
right. So that's my little teacher rant for today.
That,
Jared.
I think even in my professional career, that's something that I still really take with me. Is that like excuses are like the last sort of resort kind of thing.
Right.
It's like
They
it's got to
should
go
be.
really bad for me to start giving excuses.
Right.
And it's I think it's a similar mentality where it's like that is a big part of excelling in college and in professional. Who am I? Tony Robbins right now?
You are.
It's just that showing up, you know?
Right.
Showing up is really half the game and
It
like
is. It really
in,
is,
in
though.
any of the situations. Which I think part of the reason why, especially here in the US, like sort of that workaholism is overappreciated because it's just like
Right.
being at the office for long hours or putting in long hours is so appreciated and respected.
Yeah, and I feel like Americans, especially you know, people from the U.S. are very flaky.
You think so?
And I feel like we make a lot of excuses, and people just accept them because it's this. Like I said, it's kind of. I think it's a funny sounding phrase, but I think it's true. It's you're lubricating the social gears.
I feel like I'm kind of
You know?
flaky.
Yeah, I mean, I've been flaky before too. I'm sure
Definitely on the
everybody
phone.
has.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember I said
Yeah.
I have a lot of white lie level excuses.
Sure.
I do make a lot of excuses when people call me and I don't feel like taking the call.
Yeah.
When really it's just like I'm in the middle of like a video or a podcast and I
Right.
don't feel like interrupting.
Well, I'm listening to a song,
but I'm like, sorry, I'm working, or like, sorry, I'm cooking, or I'm
Right.
eating dinner. I do make a lot of those excuses.
new excuse. Here, add this one to your white
I don't feel
lie
like
list,
talking to you
Jared.
right now.
Taking a poop.
Taking a poop.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I need to focus. Taking a poop.
But how long does that take, you know?
I mean, that's
Hey,
the fun
that's
of
my
it.
business.
That's the fun of it.
That's
Exactly.
my business.
Exactly.
Now you're asking too many questions.
Exactly. See, don't ask questions. As you've told me many times, Jared, don't ask questions.
I hate
you
those
don't
people that do
want
that.
The answers to.
I hate
You're
people that
right.
are like, "Hey, I can't show up at this," and I'm like, "Why?" And it's like, just take it.
Right.
I can't do it. I don't want to do it.
Right.
Why are you asking me why? Now you're gonna make me come up with a stupid excuse.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we could have just let this go.
Well, yeah. Or I guess that's the issue, though. I think it's very easy to take it personally. If I invite you to something and you just didn't feel like going, I think now I would hope both of us are men enough where if it happened, I don't think I would be too hurt by it. I don't think it would hurt my feelings.
Well, I think that's where a lot of the Karen videos come from too. It's just like
Right.
this immediate fear to not want to take accountability and be right, you know.
Right.
So it's like all these excuses and like I felt threatened or whatever it is, like all these sort of Karenisms
Right.
that people have been going to recently, and that's sort of like no, it's like I'm not doing anything wrong. Here's why this happened. It's like always some sort of excuse for something.
Right.
Giving yeah, I don't know. I really I feel like I'd make a great like corporate boss in like some sort of like a Wolf of Wall Street, just because I feel like I have little like space for excuses. I'm just like, I don't know, why are you even bothering?
Yeah,
you're embarrassing. You're embarrassing.
Honestly,
yourself right
I
now
think
in a
it's
bit, you know?
yeah, it's good to have a low filter for excuses, Jared. I think that's a really honestly, that's not a bad quality or value to have.
Now, luckily, I don't let this bother me that much. This is not if like because I can also be like, all right, if he's not going to make it a priority, then I don't have to make it a priority too.
Right.
So I don't lose sleep over it. I'm not like checking in like, hey, so you're going to do this? You're going to do this? I just let it be.
And that's
but
how it
it's
has
easy
be.
to get
Yeah.
caught up in that stuff.
Sure. I noticed that with
And
a lot
I
of
don't
things.
get paid for it too,
right.
so it's not like
Right. Well, even stuff that you don't get paid for, it still takes your mental time, your energy.
Sure.
You know, it's stressful. Yeah. There's a lot of things I've noticed. As I've mentioned in numerous episodes, Jared, I've really taken tried to take a step back and reflect on my life and where I wanted to go. During being able to be home for so long, and just working online has given me a lot of time to think and do other things that I wouldn't be able to do if I was driving to work and teaching all these classes and doing all this stuff.
Sure. We have too much free time.
Right. My whole point of this is that there's something about letting things go and just being able to be like, well, you're not going to make it a priority. And I think a lot of that, as you've mentioned, is kind of related to excuses where it's like, come on, like if it's a legitimate excuse, okay. But if you're really just telling me stories, it's like, come on, you're wasting both of our time. What are you doing?
Yeah.
That was like last weekend when you asked me why I didn't respond to you.
Sure.
Right?
I think I'd be, because there's no point in going into these pointless excuses or whatever.
Right.
And, and it's like, well, the answer's already been,
we both
already
knew
made the answer.
There was no response.
No one's going to get it. That's the answer. That's true. And the problem also is, I think it would be even better. I would be more like that, where I could let that go. But I always tend to take some sort of passive aggressive route with it.
I see.
Where it's where I say something sort of slick, and I hate that about myself, but I do it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't just do it with him. I do it with my partner sometimes too, and I catch myself, or she catches me doing it.
That's the dangerous thing, though, too. I mean, you're not to butter you up too much here, Jared, but you're a smart guy, and I think you do have a level of social intelligence, which means that that you're not gonna. You don't strike me as a guy that I have ever seen or can imagine getting in a yelling match with somebody.
Yeah, I don't take myself as a yeller either. Really,
right.
No.
And I'm not either.
No,
but I dated somebody.
Either.
But I dated somebody in college that brought that out of me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's my fault that I let it get brought out of me. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
But once again, I could make excuses for myself. I could say, oh well, she mistreated me, or she did this or this or this. No, it was I let my emotions take over.
Sure.
And
Yeah, you're equal party in this as well. You can't.
Yeah.
I actually, that's another. I always sort of look at people sideways that always like, have some excuse for their ex or something, or talk bad about an ex. It's like, well, I mean, this is ridiculous.
You chose them.
And it's also, I'm hearing one side.
Right. Right. That's true.
It's like, let's get you guys in a courtroom and hear both equal sides of the story. And so then I don't think you're going to, you're my friend or whatever, but I don't think you're going to sound as wonderful as you make it seem, as such a victim,
Right. Yeah, that's true. And the danger with excuses, too, is it doesn't make you accountable. Same as not apologizing properly.
Yeah, you don't think back onto
because
why did this happen?
I think the whole issue of a lot of people making excuses. I love how my intention was to make this a funny episode, and here we are being real serious. But anyways, here we are.
Excuses.
Right. Well, I guess it's because excuses can cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You don't take responsibility for your actions. If you do that to a long enough time, I think that leads into people who become complainers and whiners and all these other people who I wouldn't really want to be friends with, or if I ran a business, I certainly wouldn't want to hire these people.
Sure.
And it's one thing. I get that life happens. I get it. I've had students cancel on me 20 minutes before my lessons, and it sucks. I mean, I use that time to my advantage because I look at it as an hour where I can be productive.
But that's part of your job in a bit. That's not their job.
But at the same time, I could. What I probably should have done when I first started is I said, if you do not give me a 24-hour
cancellation fee,
right? Mm-hmm. Exactly,
like a dentist or something,
right? Because I respect my time. My time is valuable.
Theoretically, you could have booked someone else.
Right.
Now that's lost. That's opportunity cost, I believe.
Exactly.
Is the term for economic term. That's lost money for me.
Sure. And some excuses are legit. I've had to cancel lessons too on short notice because we lost power. That happened twice. Another time I wasn't feeling very good.
Sure.
But I think once again, the difference is when the power went out or when I didn't feel good, I didn't say, all right, sorry, I can't do the lessons. I said, all right, I'm really sorry. When can we reschedule that's a good time for them?
It's funny that you say that because I feel like before the pandemic, being sick was kind of not a respected excuse in the U.S.
That's true. That is true.
Where it's like it would, especially in like a corporate office, it wouldn't be uncommon for someone to like sneeze or like have some sort of sign of sickness and be like, "Sorry, don't mind me. I just got I'm a little sick."
Or kids going to school sick.
And now it's like after a pandemic, it's like you're almost a straight up criminal if you're just knowingly coming to work with some sort of especially what do you call it? Contagious virus.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like people. It's like even like Michael Jordan playing with the flu. It's like, can we was he almost breaking like was that second degree attempted murder?
Word on the street is, I guess, some people say that was actually food poisoning.
Okay.
But I know what
like
you
a
mean.
Stomach flu.
Yeah, right.
This is an example. But stuff like that happening. That happens at works, like workplaces all over the U.S. I would say.
But I think once again it comes down to, are you being accountable? And when you make an excuse, what are you doing to help that person? Because usually, if you are the one making the excuse,
you need to have a solution.
You need to have a solution, and you're inconveniencing someone else. You know, so that's why I view it. If you have to make an excuse, you also have to make the effort.
Yeah.
You know? So, and at the same time, though, if it's something like we talked about with a friend of yours, maybe not prioritizing certain things.
Bobby.
Right. Bobby, good old Bobby. Then, you know, then just take it for what it is. You know, don't take it personally.
Sure.
But obviously that's a different, I think friendship excuses are also different than workplace or school.
Right.
Because
it's a different relationship. You know the person on a different level.
Yeah. The dynamics can change. I mean, look, there are some people that we have been great friends with when we were younger that we have no contact with now. And throughout life, you know, I always wonder, people you meet, it's like, will I still know you or talk to you or be friends with you in 20, 30 years? Maybe not. You know, it's
it is
really
interesting to see excuses that people make at work, because I'm just so anti-excuse, and it's like some of the things people say, I'm like, I would never say this at work.
What are some things people say?
I don't know. People just talk about how it's so weird sometimes hearing people say how busy they are and like how they have too much on their plate.
Once again, though,
like
Jared,
that.
I think some people are just bad at time management, and I'm not great at it either.
Sure.
But I think that's one reason why people do that. Two, I think a lot of people consider it a good thing or virtuous to be busy all the time.
I do think,
right?
I mean,
at work.
I have a friend, Chris Blaker. Let's just pretend his name is Chris Blaker.
Let's pretend.
Every time I talk to him, he's the one I was talking about. He's always got he's always like either just finishing up some big deadline or in the middle. Like he's always like on the clock. Right. It's always like a newsroom in like the 1950s or something, you know, where people are running over each other. It's like, we got to get this deadline out. Got to get this big news story. It's hot, you know. It's like he's always like running. He's like, I've been spending long nights. He's like, oh man, I finally had a few days where I relaxed. And he's like, got another big deadline. It's always just like big deadlines.
But that's also
like,
his
job. Are you always
job.
just running around?
That's his job, though, too, I think.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But I think it does feel like it's almost like some sort of virtuous thing, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't care. But it's like some sort of virtuous thing. Like look how hard of a worker I am. You know, it's like the priority of my life is work. You know, and it's like I always need an excuse why. There's always an excuse. Always an excuse you can never argue with as far as why I had to dip out on some sort of personal social event is work. You know, sorry, I had to work. Like that's such a.
It's an easy excuse.
Yeah, and it's like you can't argue with that because it's like, oh yeah, what are you doing at work? Show me the. Show me your Excel sheets, or show me your articles that you're writing, or whatever it is you're doing. It's like, show me your work. What have you been working on, huh?
Right. but I also think we need to not always take it so personally if somebody does. Look, I know it sucks if somebody cancels on you, or you know they have to be in a position to make excuses for you.
Oh, it hurts.
But it's important to not always take things personally, because a lot of stuff is not in your control. So especially if it's work related, you know, then there's really not much you can do.
Sure.
And same as a teacher, you know, I can only, you know, I mean, it's like the age old saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
I've always had a job where, like I can do stuff on my own, and it's I'm in a little bit harder position to blame people in general, because it's like, yeah, I do some teamwork stuff, but it's like it's a team, so it's like, oh, I'm going to blame him when we're both expected to deliver something,
right?
But it's like you can definitely blame students, you know, whether a student didn't show up or like a student was so like distracting that he's like, I can't get these rowdies. I don't know.
Right.
It's easier to have like other things to blame, I would say.
Oh, definitely.
But it's also makes it, I think. Sometimes people would roll their eyes a little more then, because it's like, all right, this person's got the same excuse everyone else has.
Right. True.
You don't think we've ever heard this? You don't think we've had to suffer through these same annoying children?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you think this is really our first time. But with excuses, Jared, you know, if it does get under your skin or rattles you a little bit, one thing you can definitely do is enjoy some solid music.
Yeah.
And
it's been hard coming up with excuses during the, at my company, they have now, well, maybe I shouldn't say this, but, they put out like a statement saying that like people can't do private get-togethers, like big private get-togethers, because like work teams and stuff
Makes
are doing
sense.
like socially distant,
Okay.
and I made me so happy because I'm like, oh good, because like I don't want to go. I went to one of them a long time ago and it was fine or whatever, but I don't really want to go to other ones.
Right.
Like it didn't make me feel uncomfortable, but like I can't. Some of these people go other places. Like I can't keep up with this many people's schedules, and I can't.
Right.
I don't know. It's just too much, and they don't. And so it was kind of nice that I was like, oh, good. I don't have to make up excuses not to go
Right.
to those anymore.
Yeah,
because
that is nice.
It just seems like an unnecessary risk, especially if I'm gonna. I would like to. I'd rather come to your place on a regular basis than hang out with them once. Once
absolutely.
in a random
yeah,
while.
I would agree with you, buddy.
And I feel like I'd be
appreciate
throwing
it.
off that a lot.
Right.
If I'm like seeing a bunch of strangers.
That's
Tell us
true.
about this song.
Let's
the
do it.
song
Yeah.
is first of all quite something interesting, as you would say.
It's polka pausa, which means like a little break or a few breaks.
Which, by the way, pausa, you caught. That's the same in German. Break
Yep.
is pausa in German as
Yep.
well.
Spelled differently though. This is P-A-U-S-A. German it's P-A-U-S-E. Looks
Right.
like English pause.
But it's similar though because it's just how they pronounce. But they pronounce it the same way.
Yeah,
It's just how they
pausa.
would spell what they're
well,
pronouncing.
I probably pronounce it more with a German accent probably than a Brazilian
Pau-
Portuguese.
Yeah, there's
accent.
probably more like Pau or something
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
I'm not an expert.
But
either.
anyway, so it's called Polka Pausa by
Obrigado.
Clau Cortesia da Casa and
Yeah.
Haikais. And it is like it has an interesting introduction to it. It's not your typical, I don't know, it's like, I would call it hip hop, wouldn't you?
Sure, but it's definitely got like a like it was very very clearly Portuguese
Right.
to me in the early stages of listening to it. What is that sound? That seems so noticeable, or Brazilian
It's
maybe.
that ow. I
or
can't
is it
do
the
it.
drums or something?
It's not the
ow?
rhythm. I think it's the inflection of their voice, the
Because
rhythm
I don't
of the
know
voice.
Portuguese well,
Right.
but I just guessed. I was like, "Is this Portuguese?" And you're like, "Yeah." And I was like,
Honestly, I think a lot of it also
comes.
comes down to you kind of know what Spanish sounds like.
Sure.
And you can tell
I can tell
related
it's
to
not
Spanish, but it's
Spanish.
not Spanish. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which then the alternative really is Portuguese, unless you want to talk about Catalan or Basque, which I don't really know what those two languages sound like, to be honest.
Right, me neither.
But Portuguese,
It's
I
kind
do
of
a little
similar
bit.
with like Japanese and Korean characters. I can tell, like, obviously I can't read either of them, but I can tell the difference between
Right.
the two of them.
Right. And
Because
even
Korean is a
Chinese,
little bit
Korean
more
and
like-
Japanese are
yes.
different. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because Chinese seem to be a little more intricate.
Yeah.
Japanese seem to
It's more lines, I
and then
think.
Koreans seem
It's
to have
more
more
shapes.
curvy,
Yeah.
more
I would
curvy
agree.
lines to it.
I would agree.
And I can feel like I can tell the difference between those three, but obviously
Right.
I still don't know what any of
Yeah.
them say.
But anyways, this
The song is, and then you started reading. I wanted to know what the title was. So you looked it up, but you looked up the whole lyrics.
Yep.
And we found out that it was very interesting.
a very
It's a like a back and forth between a male and a
yeah,
female.
I think so, yeah. Very scandalous. I think a lot of hip hop and dance music in Latin and South America is very flirtatious.
Sure.
Is very, you see this beautiful woman, you want to approach her and
right, especially since
you know.
it's so dance heavy in this cultures too.
Right. I mean, hip hop, the song has a really good beat.
Yes.
It's really interesting. It's not like your typical American hip hop beat, though,
No.
either. It has
It's
a
slower.
Latin kind of flair in a way to it. But yeah, it's really good. And yeah, the sound of Portuguese, even it's sung and rapped,
Sure.
I think sounds fantastic.
I agree. I agree.
It's weird, though. I wonder if for you and I, because we're English native speakers, we just like the sound of languages that aren't English but are similar. What I mean by this is they have sounds and consonant clusters and vowels that make similar sounds that we're used to, right? Whereas if you look at
Sure.
other languages like Arabic, that has a lot of sounds that don't really exist in English. Not that I'm saying I dislike Arabic music, but
where the sound is more recognizable to our
right.
ears.
And I wonder if that's why we enjoy it, or it sounds nice to us. I'm
I
not
bet
sure.
you on maybe a deeper level. That's why it's like it's easier for us to comprehend,
Right.
like linguistically, even though we technically don't know what they're saying.
Right. But with music, you don't have to know what they're saying.
Sure.
It's about the sounds, right?
But
How
because
does the
you
sounds
can,
make you
all
feel?
right. But it's still easier to I think capture the emotion.
Yeah,
when
I
you
would
have
agree.
a better understanding of even like the sound of words, or it's like
Right.
where you're like, oh, at least I recognize that tone because I sort of recognize that. Like, oh, I'm gonna guess that word directly translates. I can't think of an example now, of course,
Right.
but there are plenty of like pausa, for example, if you know
Right.
German. I liked it. It was cool. It was very sexual, very sexual.
It's an interesting
I wouldn't-
song.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would be embarrassed to play that with my grandparents
don't read the
around.
lyrics or don't play it around a person who speaks Portuguese unless you're interested in it.
I don't know how they say that in Portuguese. But I
Right,
don't think it's
I'm
like
not
that.
sure either. But yeah, so check it out on our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast, on the Song of the Pod playlist. Poca
You
Pausa,
betcha.
it's definitely a good one. We'll get you moving.
You betcha.
Absolutely. All right, well, to recap today's episode about excuses. I mean, obviously, there are definitely some funny ones, your typical ones, dog ate my homework, stuff like that. But remember, hopefully if you're making excuses, they're legitimate and you really own up to them and take responsibility and try to move forward.
Nobody does that.
I'm trying to make a positive impact here,
sure.
Jared.
Sorry, I forgot that you like to do that
I
stuff.
do, yeah, sometimes. But yeah, so anyways, definitely try to be accountable. And if you are on the other end
Stay
receiving, stay hydrated for sure. But if you're on the other end and you're receiving the excuses, some of them maybe it's not worth your time, effort, or energy to take them too seriously. Or personally.
I mean, that's how I think
Yeah.
about it sometimes personally. I was like, if this is how seriously they take it, there's no benefit for me
Right.
to take it way more seriously than they do, because then I'm exerting more energy than them, and that doesn't seem fair to me personally. To
Absolutely.
my mental health, to me more involved in it than the person that apparently is the equal contributor or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
And I think I do a very good job of keeping a calm, cool, collected head. I'm not going to brag.
Yep.
But I think my cognitive test came back. I passed it. I'm very cognitive, the most cognitive. And I think a lot of that has to do with just keeping a cool head and assessing situations and not letting people get to you,
That's fair.
Think about how you can improve the situation in yourself.
Definitely. Absolutely.
That's what I
Great
feel.
words of wisdom today, Jared. I appreciate it. And I hope all of you out there listening appreciate it as well. So let us know what you thought about today's episode at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can slide into our DMs on Twitter, untranslatable1, the number 1 on Twitter, Untranslatable Podcast on Instagram. You can see some beautiful scenery, some clips. Check us out. And lastly, please check out our Songs of the Pod on our YouTube channel, Song of the Pod playlist. We know you'll enjoy. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. Just a couple chords, Jared. That's all it takes. A couple chords.
It's a scorcher.
It is. It is.
But the camera survived, my computer survived.
Yep. Here we are out here. We're doing it.
The gram needs this, Chad.
Yep.
The gram calls
Beautiful.
for it.
Beautiful day, really. I mean, I wouldn't mind a little bit cooler, but
Yeah, it's a little hot, but it did take a little